She lost 22 kilograms in 8 months. Her doctor was thrilled. Her blood work looked better than it had in a decade. Her family said she looked incredible. But when she came to see me, she couldn't stand up from a chair without using her arms. She got breathless walking from the car to the front door, and her grip strength had dropped so low she struggled to open a jar. She wasn't sick, she was medicated. She'd been on semaglutide, one of the new generation GLP-1 weight loss drugs. And what no one had told her was this: up to 40% of the weight she lost wasn't fat, it was muscle. And that right there is the conversation we need to be having, because millions of people are on these medications and the muscle story is being left out. Welcome to the Wellness Bridge. I'm Gary Chen, physiotherapist and founder of GC Integrative Physiotherapy and Wellness on the Gold Coast. Today we're going somewhere the mainstream wellness media hasn't caught up to yet. Let's set the scene, because I want you to understand why this moment in medicine is genuinely historic and why that history has a shadow. GLP-1 receptor agonists, drugs like semaglutide, which you know as Ozempic or Wegovy, and tirzepatide, sold as Mounjaro or Zepbound, are the fastest growing class of medication in the world right now. These drugs work by mimicking a gut hormone called glucagon-like peptide 1, which slows gastric emptying, signals fullness to the brain, and reduces appetite. The results in clinical trials have been nothing short of extraordinary. In the STEP-1 trial, one of the landmark semaglutide studies, participants lost an average of 15% of their body weight over 68 weeks. In the SURMOUNT-1 trial for tirzepatide, it was over 20%. These are numbers we haven't seen outside of bariatric surgery. For people struggling with obesity-related disease, this is life-changing medicine. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. A 2024 systematic review and network meta-analysis published in the journal Metabolism, covering 22 randomized controlled trials and over 2,000 patients, found that lean mass, meaning muscle and bone, accounted for approximately 25% of total weight loss with these drugs. In the SURMOUNT-1 DXA sub-study published in 2025, that ratio held remarkably consistent, 75% fat, 25% lean, and some analyses have placed lean mass loss as high as 40% of total weight reduction. Now, 25% might not sound alarming at first, but let's put it in absolute terms. If you lose 20 kilograms on semaglutide, you may be losing 5 kilograms of lean tissue. If you lose 30 kilograms, that could be 7 or 8 kilograms of muscle gone. And muscle, once lost, does not come back easily, especially as we age. A 2025 retrospective cohort study following 220 older adults with type 2 diabetes on semaglutide over 24 months found something that genuinely alarmed the research community. Annual muscle decline in these patients was several times greater than the normal age-related loss of roughly 0.8% per year. Gait speed declined significantly. In women, grip strength fell substantially. The strongest predictors of this accelerated loss: higher drug dosage, lower baseline muscle mass, and pre-existing sarcopenia. In other words, the people who most needed protection were the ones most at risk. Now, I want to be fair here because the science is genuinely nuanced. There's a real debate happening in the research right now, and it centers on one question. Is this muscle loss adaptive, a natural adjustment to a smaller body, or is it harmful? The adaptive camp, which includes researchers from the Circulation Journal and a team using MRI-based muscle analysis, argue that as body weight decreases, the body simply requires less muscle to move around. They also point to improvements in muscle quality, specifically less fat infiltration within the muscle itself and better insulin sensitivity. By this view, the muscle that remains is actually better quality. But the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology, one of the most respected journals in the field, published a counter-argument in late 2024 that I find compelling. The authors, led by muscle metabolism researcher Carla Prado and protein metabolism expert Stuart Phillips, argue that while the proportional body composition may improve, the absolute magnitude of lean mass loss is still clinically meaningful. The concern, these drugs are producing weight loss at bariatric surgery scale. And at that scale, even a proportional loss of muscle becomes a very large number. Here's the key clinical point. Muscle is not just tissue. It is your metabolic engine. Skeletal muscle is the largest organ responsible for glucose disposal in the body. It determines your resting metabolic rate. It maintains bone density. It governs balance, gait speed, and fall prevention. And it is the single biggest predictor of functional independence as we age. When we lose muscle, and especially when we lose it fast, while the appetite-suppressing effect of these drugs makes it harder to eat enough protein to protect it, we are quietly dismantling the very foundation of long-term health that the weight loss was supposed to build. Here's where I want to take you somewhere a little deeper, because this is the moment that made me sit up in my chair when I read it. Researchers looking at the overlapping pathways between GLP-1 drugs and exercise discovered something remarkable. When you contract a muscle, when you lift, push, pull, or resist, your muscle releases a hormone-like protein called interleukin-6 or IL-6. And IL-6, when it enters the gut, slows gastric emptying and enhances the satiety signal sent to the brain. Do you know what else does exactly that? GLP-1 drugs. Your muscles are making their own internal version of Ozempic. Your body already knows how to do this. It has known for tens of thousands of years. The drug is borrowing your body's own blueprint. And here's where I want to bring in something from traditional Taoist and Chinese medicine philosophy, not as an alternative to the science, but as a lens that helps us see what the science is pointing to. In Taoist medicine, there is a concept called Jing, your essence, your foundational vitality. It is the deep reservoir of life force that governs how you age, how resilient you are, and how fully you function. It is finite. And one of the primary principles of Taoist health cultivation is this. You protect Jing by building from within, not depleting from without. The GLP-1 era, in a very real sense, is a lesson about what happens when we reach for an external solution without cultivating the internal one. The drug delivers the outcome, weight loss, but bypasses the process that builds the foundation, and the foundation is muscle. The ancient practice, movement, resistance, breath, cultivation of physical strength was not just aesthetic, it was metabolic medicine. It was protecting Jing. It was keeping the engine running. And now, in 2026, we have the mechanistic evidence. The myokines your muscles release when you exercise replicate the very hormonal signals these drugs are designed to produce. Move, not because you have to, because your body built the pharmaceutical in the first place. So, if you or someone you care about is on a GLP-1 medication or considering one, here are 3 things I want you to walk away with today. Takeaway 1. Resistance training is not optional. It is the prescription. The consensus across every major review, from the Lancet to Nature Reviews Endocrinology to Frontiers in Clinical Diabetes, is the same. 2 to 3 sessions of resistance training per week, 20 to 30 minutes each. Bands, weights, body weight, it doesn't matter. Squats, lunges, push movements, pull movements. This is what signals your body to hold on to its muscle, even as the drug drives weight down. This is the protective mechanism. Without it, you are allowing the most important tissue in your body to quietly disappear. Takeaway 2. Protein comes first, always. Because GLP-1 drugs suppress your appetite and slow your digestion, you will feel full faster and eat less overall. This makes it genuinely difficult to meet your protein needs. The research recommends at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, and for older adults or those with baseline low muscle mass, potentially higher. Eat your protein first at every meal, before the vegetables, before the grains. Protein first, and consider amino acid supplementation if you consistently can't meet your target through food alone. Takeaway 3. Track your function, not just the scale. The scale tells you what you weigh. It tells you almost nothing about what you're made of. In my clinic, we use simple functional markers: gait speed, hand grip strength, the ability to rise from a chair without hands. These are the measures that predict falls, hospitalization, independence, and longevity. If you're on a GLP-1 drug, ask your physiotherapist or GP to check these baseline measures before you start, and monitor them across the treatment period. Because if your weight is going down but your gait speed is also going down, that is a warning sign that needs to be addressed. I want to be clear, I'm not here to tell anyone not to take these medications. For many people, GLP-1 drugs are genuinely life-saving. They reduce cardiovascular disease risk, improve insulin resistance, and give people back a metabolic system that was working against them. That is real, and it matters. But medicine is not complete when it hands you a drug and walks away. Medicine is complete when it hands you a drug and gives you the tools to protect what the drug cannot protect on its own. You were built to move. Your muscles were not an afterthought. They are the architecture of your vitality. They are your metabolic engine, your internal pharmacy, your protection against frailty. And no drug, however effective, should be allowed to quietly take that from you. If you found something in today's conversation that shifted your thinking, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment. I genuinely want to know what you're navigating. And if you're on the Gold Coast and want to talk through a movement strategy that's right for where you are right now, come and find us at GC Integrative Physiotherapy and Wellness. Remember, together we find balance in one.